Welcome to Woven Soft Edges, Deep Roots, a space where bodies, culture, and transformation meet. I'm Sarah, a body worker, a tender of community care, and inviting you into conversations that nourish and ground. If you love exploring the intersections of healing, creativity, and belonging, consider supporting this work on Patreon. Your generosity helps sustain the quiet labor of community care and keeps these conversations flowing. You can also connect with me on Instagram and TikTok. Links are available in the show notes. Now, let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Woven Podcast. This is Sarah Newberry, and I am a barefoot massage therapist, a postpartum practitioner, and a continuing education provider. And today we're going to be talking to my friend Ashley, all the way over in California. And if you don't know, I'm in Missouri. And my friend Ashley here is also a fellow barefoot massage therapist, lover of Jill Miller tune-up balls roll method. I also do that. And yeah, barefoot massage and continuing education. And if there's anything else that I'm missing in there, we will probably discover it along the way. We don't really have a super agenda for today, so we're just going to kind of see what comes out. And I do know I was looking at your Instagram, Ashley, that you have a free ebook available, and I was looking through that,
Yeah.
and that is so cool.
Thank
Um,
you.
and there was also, remind me of the YouTube channel that you were
Uh,
on.
I was asked to be on Good Mythical Morning.
Good Mythical Morning. There you go. I
Yeah,
watched it and it's really, really cool. So go check that out too if you'd like. Um, and we before we hit record here, we were just discussing the weather because that's what people do whenever they connect for the first time, right? And
yeah,
it's freezing and we have about 9 inches of snow on the ground. And Ashley is in California where it's almost 80.
yeah.
How
It's
can two
unusually warm.
how can two people in such different climates have so much in common, you
The,
know?
the question for the gods, I tell you.
Well, that, or I would say that you're also from the Midwest. And I
True.
feel that vibe in you,
Yeah.
Midwest girl on the coast.
Yeah, I grew up in northern Indiana and then I lived in Kentucky for a while, which is where I found barefoot massage. And you were actually one of the first instructors to teach me, so thank you for that.
What? Really?
One of the
Wow.
first. Yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, I've been doing this a long time. That makes me feel like an old lady, like an old barefoot massage lady. I'm good with that, by the way. I love that.
Well, you're very good at what you do, and
Oh, shucks.
I'm really grateful to know you.
Yeah, I feel the same. I also remember when you were in Kentucky, we were much closer and I could like drive to you.
Yes.
Now it's a bit more
A little
challenging to drive
harder.
that far. Yeah.
Yeah. But you can
Yeah.
always take a quick flight.
Yeah, that's true. What's nice about living in Missouri is that pretty much everything is like 4 to 6 hour direct flight, like anywhere I want to go in the
That's
country,
awesome.
in the United States.
Yeah. Well, I'm always here for you. You can come
Yeah.
visit anytime.
Yeah. But you moved to California, and I've been watching you kind of grow and flourish in your own practice. And I know that you practice a little bit differently than your traditional massage therapist, like spa vibe. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But I would love for you to tell me a little bit about what it's like for a person to come in and see you.
Well, it's very different, is what I've been told. So what I do, my regular clients have told me that, and I find this to be a very nice compliment, that I have found a way to balance the spa side of things, the therapeutic side in that regard, with clinical approaches. Um, so how does it differ? I focus a lot on nervous system regulation. So depending on which session you get, this is going to vary a little bit, but all of my sessions start with very simple breath care, self care, breath work techniques. And I do have a session that incorporates self-care, which talking about Jill Miller, yoga tune-up, all of that stuff, we use her balls in our sessions. So that's a big difference. And then on top of that, the biggest difference is that I specialize in myofascial ashiatsu barefoot massage. So I use my feet instead of my hands, and it's slow, intentional, and most people are more accustomed to more Thai massage, so compression and stretching and like the fluid movements, or traditional ashiatsu, which is more, long, flowy strokes. Um, and I do long, flowy strokes, but they're very slow and intentional and very specific. And the combination between the breath work and the slow strokes, and then approaching it from a clinical mindset of excuse me, which muscles are we working? What are the actions, and what is your lifestyle like? My intake form, which took a lot of inspiration from your intake form
Yeah.
and to help create mine. And I really take that time to get to know my clients. So I learn about where their medical history, and like what they're dealing with day to day, their stress levels, things that bring them joy, how much time they spend in solitude, their goals, things that motivate them, things that you wouldn't normally see on an intake form. But I use all that information so that I can really tie it in with what I do and make it relevant for them so that they get the most out of their session and their healing.
Yeah, I love that. So you said quite a few things that I'm like, ooh, we could go down that rabbit hole. So, I always want to give credit where credit is due, right? And my friend Marion, who I met in Mother Circle, she taught me something about the word breath work.
Mm,
And you kind of combined self-care and breath work there for breath care.
yeah.
And she never says breath work. She always says breath care because she
Oh.
talks about like the vibe or the energy of the word work and how
Mm,
we oftentimes associate that with like effort and force and application. And if you think about like what is breath work and what is breath care, and so I've started calling um my breath exercises, I'm trying not to say breath work, my breath intentions, I've been calling
yeah,
it breath care.
I like
And
that.
it feels so good in me to say that because it's like, breath and breathing is part of the autonomic nervous system, right? You will breathe whether you're telling yourself to breathe or not. And so I think sometimes we can forget about it and we can kind of just like go about our day and not really care too much about what happens because your breath is going to breathe, regardless.
Whether you're thinking about it or not, right?
Yeah, and so I think whenever I reposition myself to say breath care, I I think about what does it mean to care for the breath or the air that's coming into my body, but also what does it take to care for my body as it receives the breath?
I love that shift in
Yeah.
the mind. I've been working a lot on shifting mindsets and changing not just the way that I speak, but the words that I choose to use.
Hmm.
And that's one that I hadn't really thought of. So thank you for bringing it to my attention, because I'm going to sit with that for a while. I really
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Breath
Yeah.
work, breath care.
I mean, and there like etymology is like the origin of words, and I think there's also something to be said for it. My cat keeps playing with my headphone here. Stop it. Um, I think there's also something to be said for like, what does a word truly mean? And like, are you using the word in the way that you intend it to mean, but also like the collective? intends it to mean, and like there's history with words sometimes. I'm in a book club right now about matrimony with my with one of my teachers, Stephen Jenkinson, and in his book he talks about the difference between promise and vow, and that makes sense as far as matrimony goes, and I won't go into that right now, but like the etymology of words are important, but also like the energy, and like that feeling when you're writing something, whether it's like copy for your website or a poem or anything. It's like when you get just like the perfect like combo of words that like really um reflect what you're trying to convey. There's like a somatic experience to that where it's like this rush of like relief and contentment that happens.
Well, yeah, it hits different.
Yeah, and that's how I feel whenever I think about breath care versus breath work, where we have an idea of what work is, right? Even when we love our work, like we were talking about earlier too, it's like we love our work. Sometimes my work saves me. I was just in my house for 4 days because of the snow and we couldn't go anywhere. And it was like, to go back to work felt so nourishing and fulfilling to not only my clients, but to me. I was like remembering who I was. I was more than a mom. I was more than someone stuck inside my house. Who am I? Orienting myself to my workspace, right? But there's still this like efforting that has to happen when we talk about work. So, whenever we talk about breath being breath care, that feels much more like, ooh, how am I tending to this versus like, ooh, I got to make this thing work or move in the way that I want it to, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
really gonna be
I've probably
really
talked about that
paying
before on this podcast, but I'll probably talk about it again because
attention.
because and and I also wanted to say this because I think that and the question I asked you was like, what makes your work different or what makes going to see you different than something else? And I think it's all of those pieces, right? Like we can list all of our letters and our credentialing and all of those things, and those things do mean things. But also like what's the other piece? What are the other parts to it? Like I'm talking to you about breath care that was inspired by my friend.
Yeah.
It wasn't a class that I took. It was like an intentional, beautiful conversation that erupted into like a mindset shift for myself and now
Hmm.
like other people as I've shared the story.
Yeah. Another word, as we're talking about changing words and the meanings behind, not changing the meanings behind them, but how we use them. Something that I have shifted away from is using the word pain because pain is often, I mean, it's associated with hurt and has a lot of negative connotations to it. And I've switched from saying pain because in my mind, pain is something that's very excruciating. And if you are experiencing something excruciating, I think go ahead, use that word. I mean, in general, use whatever word you want. But when it comes to what the sensations that we feel in our body, is it true pain or is it more just of a discomfort? So I've shifted from pain to discomfort. And a lot of that, in my mind, uh, goes back to your nervous system and how your brain, your breath is processing the daily movements that you are moving through or the daily stressors that you're experiencing. And maybe it is true pain. And if so, let's address it. But I think there's a big difference between discomfort and pain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It reminds me of like children who say like I hate you, and we talk about that H word, the
Mhm.
hate word where it's like you should actually really reserve that for like really big things. You can say I don't like you or something. So it's like we can use the word pain, but like is it appropriate for this scenario?
Right.
And when I do like somatic coaching, that's a lot of what we uncover and discover also, where it's like, what is the sensation and is it movable? Is it changeable?
Mhm.
And maybe it is and maybe it's not. And
Yeah.
either one's like okay, but can we like sink below like ouch or hurt and get
Mhm.
into like well like what hurts? And like what
Mhm.
does that hurt kind of feel like? You know,
Yeah. And I've been asking clients to describe the discomfort. Is it because there's different, if you're using the word pain, there are different types of pain, different levels of pain. And so if they're able to describe it as something, say, maybe it's just a dull ache or it's radiating, or I'm blanking. But things of that nature, that changes sometimes the approach in a session. If you have, excuse me, a radiating pain, well, it could be a trigger point, perhaps, or maybe it's a nerve. Maybe I'm on a nerve, so I just have to move slightly. And trying to figure it out and decipher, um, for me is the fun part in my job. But you can't really do that effectively if somebody just says it's pain,
yeah.
and like having more dialogue around the sensations that the client is feeling, and myself too. Like what I feel underfoot might be different than what you feel
Hmm.
receiving,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I found a poster on Etsy of somatic descriptor words. So it's
Ooh,
things like tingly, dull, vibrating, like sensation language. And
yeah.
I blew it up and put it in my room. And, you know, story time here. I grew up with a mom who was a nurse. And I was also, I probably had a lot of my autoimmune stuff that I do today way back then. And so I grew up with like a lot of aches and pains and I'm a deeply feeling person. So like when I'm explaining how I feel, I'm never like, I'm good. I'm like, well, I'm a like well of joy right now, riveting in like a field of wildflowers or something. You know what I mean? Like I'm a very deep person. And
You're like a Sufi poet.
yeah, right. And I just feel like I just get kind of annoyed, I guess, by like the general small talk answers of like fine, good, bad,
Mhm.
stressed or whatever. Like there's so much richness to life. Like let's live in that, right? But whenever I grew up, I had a lot of sensations going on, and my mom didn't use that word, but she would say, like, what does it feel like? And she was a nurse, so she was kind of used to like that symptom diagnostic model, if you will.
That pain
And
feel.
it really helped me kind of identify myself. Like I could locate myself, I could feel myself because of the sensation or the pain or the whatever was happening. I remember, uh, I don't know, I was probably like 8 or 9 and I had a stomach ache and she was like, well, what does it feel like? Is it dull? Is it sharp? Is it stitching? And I remember being like, stitching? What does that even mean? And I've said this to my clients a couple times and I always get that, like, what does that even mean? But now as I've like traversed sensation language, I'm like, oh, stitching. I totally know what that feels like,
Yeah.
And so now even with my kids, when they say things, I'm always like, I need you to describe this differently or deeper or more. I need more words. And so now my kids know better than to just be like, I don't feel good. I'm like, okay, well, that could mean so many things.
And what a gift that your mom gave you.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
Tuning in to the interoception that we have, and building that awareness of the sensations that you're feeling throughout your body that could or maybe could not be contributing to what is going on around you or intern, all those things. And I just think that's such a beautiful gift.
Hello, friend. If today's conversation is resonating with you, I'd love to invite you deeper into the woven community. When you join Patreon, you're helping sustain the quiet labor of community care, supporting the life and work of a body worker and tender of soft spaces. Even small contributions ripple outward and make this work possible. You can also follow along on Instagram and TikTok for somatic practices, reflections, and ways to stay rooted in your own soft edges. All the links are in the show notes. Now, back to the episode. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think it's funny how things kind of come back around, where like she was very much in allopathic, like you got an ache, give it a medication, and I mean, I know the need for that, but I also eh, I don't have to do that either, There's other
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I had a thought about something. What was it? Well, it'll come back, either or it won't. But I was thinking about something else you said about wait, hold on, it came back.
Okay.
Um, You said interoception, and I
Um,
was thinking how in my nervous system understanding CE course that I teach,
mhm.
we go over those things. So interoception, exteroception, proprioception, all
Yeah.
of the somatic work that I do has a bit of like education of that. So even if you come to my group classes, we talk about what are all these things. Um, and I feel like it's even more poignant right now because in a world of like overstimulation of like notifications and ding 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 all the time, um our sensory system is being flooded and empty and then flooded and then empty and I I have to say of all the different kinds of healing stuff I've done, understanding my sensory system, like right now I have a hot pillow on my back
Uh-huh.
because I want to be able to stay present with what we're talking about. I mean, granted it's cold and that's nice too, but the heat is actually part of like how my body talks to itself, you know? It's like, oh, there's something back there and it's keeping me like kind of in my back and not like off into some land thinking about my grocery bill or something like that. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
so I'm always kind of like talking about sensory stuff. And this is why like massage works so well, right? Because it's a direct line to talking to our sensory system. Um, I mean, I think my whole massage career, I have been trying to answer this question is why is massage so effective? But the answer is so broad
Hmm.
and so like layered that it's not like is effective because this. It's like
Yeah.
massage is effective because this.
All of this.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah, I I'm right there with you when you talk about talking about the proprioceptive and interoception during your classes, and it comes up a lot in my self-care classes that I have, and in those self-care sessions where we use the tools in the barefoot massage. It's such a nice experience because with those therapy balls, you'll know fairly quickly if a muscle is tight or tender or uncomfortable, right? And it's similar with trigger points. You notice it fairly quickly, and if my communication is really well with my clients, they'll tell me, "Hey, I notice." Like if let's say this happened not too long ago, where I was working on a client's calf, and she was like, "I don't know what you're doing right there, but I feel that in my shoulder." Great. So I just hung out, sunk in a little bit deeper, and we just waited until it released or until it got lighter. And she was communicating with me the whole time. And because of that, she got one of the best sessions that she's ever had. And side note, I spent 75 minutes on her lower legs, just her lower legs, because she was giving me such great feedback.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how much time had passed because we were just deep in it. and getting real geeky about all the muscles and all the things. And I looked at the clock and I thought, oh no. And I told her, I said, we got to move on. I only have 30 minutes left and I have not even touched your upper body. And she said, that's okay. And I was like, well, I'd like to at least finish with some neck work. But it was such a great experience, not just for her, but for me too, because it shows the power of communication. And then it also shows when you have that awareness, internal and external, because had she not told me that her calf was bothering her, I would have moved on way
Hmm.
sooner, you know? And so like the combination of all of that is so important for clients and just people in general to be able to heal. And that's a big, um, what's the word I'm thinking of? The big reason why I do what I do because I've had a low back injury. I have two shoulder injuries. That's why I use my feet now. And I didn't have a lot of help along the way in healing those injuries, and I didn't have the resources. And so it's a big part of why I do what I do is so I can help others build that awareness so that they can communicate and identify. And even if they don't have the right words, they can describe what they're feeling, whether they're talking to me or, their medical doctor or they, whoever they choose to see.
Yeah, that's really interesting. In my classes, whenever I'm teaching massage therapist things, and I'm sure you have seen this with your students too, there's always kind of a breakout conversation about like, do your clients talk to you or not talk to you? And I think kind of what you were just referring to with like this client where you guys were really in communication about this lower leg thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's always like usually the conversation is do you talk or do you not talk? And we're like that could be a lot of things. Like are you talking about, your child's recital or whatever or like are you talking about what's happening in your body? Because I can like because I've been in those sessions too where the client's like really directing me based on what they're experiencing and like we're having an experience together versus like chatter, you know?
Mhm.
And I think that those sessions where the client and you are really in a collaborative experience is like that can be really transformative for you as a professional, but also for them as a client on the table, not only in transforming their sensation or their pain, but also
Mhm.
their experience with massage and something. I don't know if you, I will actually, I could guess how you feel about this, but I would love to hear from you. But I sometimes feel like people have certain ideas about massage therapy that like this is just relaxation and there is no clinical aspect to this or you can only find clinical people in hospitals or like chiropractors offices or something like that. And my practice is very similar where I focus a lot on what is relaxing because that is therapeutic. I mean, when I got out of massage school, I was like, the only claim I can make is that relaxation is therapeutic because that is truth, right? And especially in a world where we're so stressed out and we don't know how to process and move through stress,
Right.
we have to like relaxation massage is super valuable. It's super
Yeah.
beneficial. But if you can also like bridge that both bridge the gap there and like see how those two things come together, it's like
Yeah.
you're talking about an amazing experience.
Mhm.
It's not just relaxation and it's not just an amazing experience. It's like it's all of it together.
And that's a big reason why I created that ebook was because first it was like ended up talking a lot about these things, and I didn't want to spend so much time talking in the sessions. And so I created the ebook so that people could read it before they came in, before their first appointment. But it really does talk about in very simple terms of why the nervous system is important and why the breathing is important and how it all fits together with what I do. And the more I work with barefoot massage and the nervous system together, the more I'm convinced that if you're not addressing the nervous system, your healing is going to take much, much longer. And because you know this, you can't heal in fight or flight. And as you mentioned, with all the stimulus around us, notifications and rushing from here to there, and the social pressures of replying to emails and doing all of the things, I would venture to say that the majority of people are living in a chronic state of stress, which is fight or flight. That sympathetic state.
And we're meant to have that, right? Like that's what's
Right,
beautiful about it is we are meant to handle short bursts of stress,
right,
but we aren't meant to really handle long-term chronic stress,
right.
which I mean, I have lots of thoughts about that, but until we can figure out how to process these things and complete the loop, and that usually involves being in group with people. So like that's why villages and tribal stuff, tribal
Yeah.
rituals and things like that were so important. It helped you complete the cycle. We
Ugh,
could then leave the stress like over there. The stress was left in the fire or whatever,
exactly.
and we don't have those things, so that's what's limiting us in moving through chronic stress.
Hmm. And that's what I'm finding is like bringing clients back to their breath and assuring them like in the beginning, it's really, at least for me, it was not easy to move from here to here in my lungs and belly. It was very difficult for me to learn how to do that. I struggled really hard.
Hmm.
Now it's like my norm most of the
Hmm.
time, and which is wild to say that out loud, but yay.
Yeah, yeah, it's practice, right?
Yeah, and so now I use my experiences a lot to sympathize with clients and let them know you're not alone in what you're feeling.
Hmm.
And if you do even just the breath work, which is in the ebook, I have a little page that walks you through very simple how to do what I do in my sessions. Um, is I'm not trying to plug the book. It's just I was being silly.
I mean, it's a great resource right there.
Well,
Like
thank
I
you.
did not know about that till today, and I'm going to be sending my clients that way too. Like,
Oh,
here, read
thank
this
you.
ebook.
Thank you. Well, it's like, you know, even if you just do a little bit every day, and it can be as little as 30 seconds to a minute every single day, it compounds and it really does make a difference. And eventually you'll be like, "Oh, I am breathing in my belly. When did that happen?" Well, it's because
Hmm.
you've been doing 1 minute every day for the last 5 years or
Hmm.
however long it's been.
Hmm.
For me, it's been since I learned breath work, honestly, back in college. And I took a yoga class. My very first yoga class was in college. And we spent half of the class, so it was a 50-minute class. We spent the first 25 minutes just breathing. That was my first introduction.
Wow.
Um, and it was really difficult. And
Hmm.
then I was reintroduced to it during shutdown. They
Yeah.
started having all these panic attacks and couldn't go anywhere. And it was just not a great time for me. But then I took Jill Miller's Body by Breath class, and I've been practicing that work ever since. And I'm so convinced that the nervous system is the root of healing. Like,
Yeah, I definitely agree too. Yeah, I definitely agree too.
it's like, oh, it applies to literally everything that I'm doing in life,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know?
You
Like
know,
I,
and it's something that I was taught. I just taught my nervous system class like last week or something, so it's fresh in my mind. But um, I go through a lot of the like Instagram jargon about nervous system because it's a very trendy word. Just like if you've been in this business for a long time, the wellness industry, you know
Mhm.
there's things that come and go as trends. Like psoas was all the rage a couple years back, and then there was Thai massage, and like there's always these trends. And right now, nervous system is trending.
Yeah.
And I feel like you see it now in everything. It's like I see it in parenting, I see it in yoga, I see it in massage, of course, but like there's like schools even and all this stuff. And that's
Mhm.
great. Like it is great. But at the same time, when it gets out like that, it also gets weakened, right? And the true understanding of it is like hard to grasp onto. Um, it took me a long time to really understand like, fight or flight and like rest and digest, that's like such a baby, like it's a baby understanding, like a teensy weensy understanding of how the nervous system actually all works together. And
Yeah.
then going to see Gil Headley with the Nerve Tour was like super interesting too because he really went in depth on the vagus nerve, and that's like really hot right now too. Is like you ever see those ads on your social media for like the vagus nerve like stimulators or whatever?
No.
They're like these things you put on your neck and they vibrate, I bet. I don't know. I don't know. I've never used one, okay? Never used
Wow.
one, but I see it and I'm going like, wow, there's so much more to understand than like just get this contraption and it will work. Like that's not
Yeah.
how the nervous system works. You can't do that.
I
It's
mean,
just not.
you could just hum.
Right, exactly. I'm like, or you can do the salamander, or like you could lymph massage, stimulate,
Right?
tap, tap. Like there's so many things you could do. But like
That's interesting.
we have to commodify everything here. We have to make a product and then sell it. So,
Honestly, one of my goals in my work and in my personal life is to simplify
yeah,
everything. Like
absolutely.
I don't want to have to consume all of these products just to regulate my nervous system, as an example.
Yeah. You give
Like
me
if I
some
can,
balls and some hot pillows, that's all I want, okay?
exactly. My balls are my favorite self-care tool.
Yeah.
It's like you combine that with breath work and slow intentional movements, whether it's with the ball or massage.
Yeah.
Oh, it is so good. It's so effective. It's calming. Like it's
Well,
just so good.
yeah, and okay, so we've talked about self-care. We've
Yeah.
we've brushed along this word for a little bit here, but like let's look at it directly for a second. Self-care is one of those things, again, it's a buzzword. People think, "Oh, if I just take care of myself." Well, self-care really like there's a it's very close to being selfish, right? Like
Mhm.
self-care does not equal selfish, right? So self-care is like how do you care for yourself? There was a meme that went around a couple years ago. It was like a animated picture of a person cooking food in their kitchen, right? And it was like
Mhm.
this is self-care. Yes, feeding your body is self-care.
Mhm.
And I think that self-preservation is also self-care. And I think self-care, again, to go with like internet culture, is like we've missed what it means now. It becomes like bubble baths and expensive massage experiences. And as someone who delivers expensive massage experiences, um, I want to make sure that you're not here to check that box of self-care if you're just like laying down and receiving this thing and then like going back to your stressful job. Like whenever I'm in relationship with my clients like this, we're having an ongoing educational experience about, what's working, what's not working in your life. And there's going to be like, how do we make small but substantial changes so that you can access self-care in moments of your everyday life. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be this big lavish experience. It's like, how
Right.
do you find resource, which to me is like another word for self-care, is finding
Mhm.
resources. Sometimes the resources, um, looking up at a picture on the wall, right? And exploring that picture from a somatic lens of like texture and color and being with those things, really just like, what does it feel like to embrace like the color green? And that becomes a resource. That can become a resource. Now, that's for a certain person at a certain time. If you're like in the middle of a flood or something, you can't like resource your way out of looking at all the nice pictures like that, like we have
Well,
to.
in that instance, that's where it's appropriate to be in fight or flight. You
Right.
probably want to get out of there.
Absolutely, exactly. Or like, what is it to, pet your cat, or, feel the softness that is their fur, as my cat's
Yeah,
sitting on my lap here.
yeah.
It's like those are all resources that can check that self-care box if you're being with, which I know seems kind of an like not ominous, what's the word? Like, it's kind of a vague or obscure kind of word. Like, what does that even mean to be with something? But when you explore something mindfully, you can be with it in a way that's like resourcing and not um, debilitating or taking away your energy or stressful, and you can feel the distinctions between like that resource and the stress you're experiencing. This,
I think what you're also talking about is being present in the
right.
moment,
Yep.
right? Because when you are present, you're not going to be distracted by all of this.
The noise.
And when you are present, you can then notice the tension in your shoulders or the ache in your neck or how good the sun feels on your face or how nice the winter breeze feels
Mm-hmm.
when you walk out to your car. It's like there's so many things that apply here to that allow you to be fully present and in doing that calm your nervous system,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know which is the ultimate form of self-care, I think.
Yeah.
And I do try to make self-care easy for my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of why my intake is so long. Because
Right.
when I have a good understanding or like a solid foundation at least, um, of how they live their life and what's important to them and what their wellness goals are, then I am able to at least plant the seeds of how they can incorporate these tools that I'm sharing with them into their daily lives that doesn't feel like another thing on the to-do list,
Right. Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. It has to be accessible.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, real quick, let's talk about intake forms and then we
Mhm.
can close up for the day.
Okay.
But intake forms, when I go get a facial, there's certain questions they ask for my skin, right? And when I go to like the doctor, there's an intake form and it feels very demographic information, maybe
Mhm.
medication and stuff like that. And then, this is the one thing that I always tell my students, but there is that your intake form is the one time that you have a totally 100% captive audience. So
Yeah.
use your intake form to educate about yourself, but also like, how do you want your client to act in your space? Like, this is
Mhm.
also the time to educate them on your expectations of them, right? And it's also the the intake form is like your way to gather information both from a marketing perspective. Like, if
Mhm.
you were collecting information on, you have one client that's referring all these people to you and you get that information from all those people's intake forms, you can then do something appropriate with that, right?
Mhm.
And like, there's also the intake form to address the session at hand. So yeah, Don't be afraid of really long intake forms is the moral of the story.
I love my intake form. Yes, it's long, but I think it's really valuable. And I think once the client arrives and then they talk with me, I'm assuming they've already gone to my website and read about everything or most things before booking an appointment. I would hope so. So,
Right.
assuming all those things, by the time that they come and see me and we have a conversation, I think it also makes them feel seen when I bring up certain things that they wrote in their intake form and connect it to the discomfort that they're having in their bodies. It's like, well, you mentioned that you're having, right elbow pain. You also mentioned in your free time you like playing tennis. Let's talk about that.
hmm
How often are you playing tennis? And you can ask all the questions and how often are you stretching or whatever. It it will unfold organically and then it just really adds to the quality of the experience because once you've done all of that, then by the time you're finished, you deliver the great service, they come out, they feel amazing,
hmm
at least most of the time. They feel amazing and they feel better on so many different levels. They feel heard, they feel understood, they feel lighter a lot of times after receiving the body work. Their body feels more even and balanced. And it's not just physically, it's just mind, body, soul kind of thing, you
hmm
know. And I think that's um, such a great thing to have in our life.
Yeah. I understand, like, I've had to fill out a lot of forms recently for my son at his school stuff, and it's frustrating to like click the buttons and keep going through all the questions. Last night I had one that had 200 questions. I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Oh, wow.
So like I understand, but I also feel like I am creating a space. This is when you come to see me, it's not like your average massage.
Right.
We're having an experience together, and I really want people to understand that. And so it's like if you can't have like if you can't take the time to fill out the intake form, you're probably not going to really like or jive with what I'm doing here anyway.
Uh-huh.
You know, because the information that I have on my intake form is so much more than just what's your medical history?
Right.
Like that tells me a lot, of course, and I want to know that and I need to know that stuff, but also I want to know who you are as a human and what are you up to in the world and even more important, like what do you care about? Because when you can list and name what you care about,
Mhm.
now we have exactly why we're caring for our breath, we're caring for our body, we're caring for our well-being. It's when we don't know what we care about that we can't we there's no like purpose to caring for your body.
Mhm.
And when we know what we care about, like your heart's desire, that's where the real work happens. So,
Yeah, of course. And
so
I'm sure you feel this way too. It's like I want the best for my clients.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I don't want my clients to deal with that pain and discomfort that I dealt with my shoulders or my low back.
hmm
Not being able to walk is so difficult for everyday living,
Yeah.
right? Nowadays,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
And I understand that. I don't want you to go through that.
Right.
So
Right.
here I am. I want to give you some very simple tools to help get you past that so that you never have to feel that again.
Right.
And if
Right.
it starts to show up, here's some tools to
hmm
help, uh, manage and prevent and keep yourself away from that for as long as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That brings me to a whole different conversation, but we're gonna put a pin in it for now.
Okay.
I have to go feed my kids. And
Okay. We'll do it part two.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say this has been a very fun, meandering conversation, but is there anything that you have upcoming that you want anybody to know about? This probably won't go out for like a month. So what you got going on like end of February, March, April?
I've got some self-care classes coming up here at my office. Um, February, we have Hello Gorgeous, using the Gorgeous Ball to open our hearts.
Oh, lovely.
It's going to focus on neck, shoulder, chest, upper back self care. And then another Hello Gorgeous. Um, oh, I can't remember what I named it, but it is all about low back, hips, and pelvis. So self care for you
Nice.
for those areas. So those are the most recent things that are coming up. Got some sound baths coming up as well monthly,
Fun.
um, coordinated with the full moon. So it's all on my
Love it.
website if people
Yeah.
are interested. But I would
Yeah.
love people can come. I would love to have them.
Yeah, well, all that information will also be in the show notes too. So, Ashley will give me her socials and her website and stuff, so that'll be there. So, thanks so much, Ashley. It's been
Oh,
really fun to connect with you. I love seeing your face too, because I know we text and talk a lot, but we don't always get to see
I
each
don't ever
other's
get to
faces.
see you. It's so nice to see you. Thank you so much for
What a
inviting me.
great nervous system signal, seeing your face.
Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah,
I'll talk to you
thanks.
soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. If you liked what you heard today, consider supporting Woven on Patreon. Your support helps sustain the quiet labor of community care, lifting up the life and work of a body worker and tender of soft spaces. Even small acts of generosity make a big impact, nurturing the kind of care and connections that our community needs. Thank you for listening, for sharing, and for being part of this web of support. Until next time, stay soft, stay rooted.